For this assignment, I was asked to look at how people with disabilities are represented in media and everyday life, and also to answer the question: to what extent is our society inclusive of people with disabilities? Over the past week, I have paid attention to different types of media and also my daily experiences to better understand this. To gather information, I looked at television shows and social media to see how people with disabilities are portrayed. I also paid attention to things like advertisements and children's toys. In addition to media, I observed my daily experiences in places like grocery stores and pharmacies, focusing on accessibility and how people interact with individuals with disabilities. I also reflected on my personal experiences growing up and my current role as an educator. From what I saw, people with disabilities are showing up more in TV and online media than they used to, which is a positive change. However, a lot of portrayals still feel unrealistic. Many times, people with disabilities are shown either as inspirational or as someone to feel sorry for, instead of just regular people living everyday lives. I also thought about when I was younger and watched the show Life Goes On, which included Corky, a character with Down syndrome. At this time, that really stood out because it wasn't something you saw often on TV. Social media seems a little more positive because people with disabilities can share their own experiences, which feels more authentic. In public places like grocery stores, there are definitely efforts to be more inclusive, like ramps and accessible parking. But there are still challenges. For example, I saw someone using a motorized cart who couldn't get down an aisle because boxes were in the way. That made me realize that even if accessibility exists, it's not always practical in real life. I've also noticed checkout lines can be difficult for people using mobility devices, which shows that accessibility goes beyond just getting into a building. As an educator, inclusion is very important to me. It's common to have students with autism or other disabilities in the classroom, and teachers are expected to support everyone. When I think back to when I was in school, I remember a student who we all knew was different, but we didn't understand why. He would constantly be rocking in his seat, say repetitive things, and spend most of recess on the swings, swinging as high as he could. Looking back now, I realize he may have been on the autism spectrum. At the time, there wasn't much awareness or explanation, which really shows how much things have improved. For example, my niece has little people toys, and one of them is a boy in a wheelchair. I think that's important because kids are learning early on that differences are normal. From this assignment, I learned that inclusion is more than just physical accessibility. It also includes representation, awareness, and how people treat each other. I also realized that while things have improved over time, there are still gaps, especially in understanding and attitudes. As an educator, this will impact how I communicate and interact with others. It reminds me how important it is to create an inclusive environment and help students understand and respect differences. Overall, I would say that our society is somewhat inclusive, but not completely. There has been progress in media, education, and accessibility, but there is still work to be done to make inclusion consistent and meaningful. Thank you.